This is the Horse Radio Network.
Not everybody has the privilege of riding at a big training barn. This week, we'll discuss the pros and cons of riding at home and showing alone. Show jumpers are taking a page out of the eventing safety playbook. And did you know Idris Elba has a horse allergy? Thanks for tuning in. From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 74 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
Hey, guys.
Hi, ladies.
How's it going?
Not bad.
Surviving 2020, I think, is all we can hope for at this point.
Right. So this episode is brought to us by EcoGold. If you guys have not heard, EcoGold is actually doing a dressage symposium, and they are having 3 Olympic international trainers. It is Saturday, September 26th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the participants will engage with the presenters and be able to ask questions and watch the riders demonstrate methods through their videos. And this event's open to all the levels. So everybody should join. It's going to be super fun. It has one of my favorite people, 2-time Olympian Jackie Brooks. She's going to go through the understanding biomechanics, the principles of effective riding. Also, Shannon Dweck, and she's going to talk about what in front of the leg really means. And then Aless Jordan Gunderson, and she's going to be talking about unlocking the secrets of rideability. 3 of my favorite dressage people. You guys have got to go in. It's unbelievable. You guys have got to go first. I'm not sure if there's even the first 50 registrants, but the cost of it's $195 to register. But the first 50 people to enter get a free EcoGold saddle pad. So, I mean, what a deal can that be? And basically, if you're in the US, you go to bit.ly/dressage symposium to register. And then for Canadians, the link is bit.ly/dressage symposium Canada. And we'll put all those links in the notes and everything so you guys can make sure you enter, but make sure you check it out because I am super excited to hear what everybody thinks about it. So we're going to do something different with the drink. I have been craving a ton of wine lately. I love red and white wine and everything else, but I wanted to know what you guys' favorite wines and what you're kind of drinking right now. It can change with the season, but I thought I would kick it off by, I love right now to do kind of like a wine spritzer. We've done it before, but my favorite is I do the Kim Crawford Sauv Blanc. And I love that actually with a bunch of ice and top it off with like half a can of Perrier. And that is like my go-to drink right now. So it's like you're not drinking a ton of alcohol, but you really are. But you kind of have that water at the same time and it's sparkling and it keeps it cold. So basically I get it out of the fridge, but the ice and the cold Perrier like really make it on point, I think. So that is like, it's actually what I'm drinking right now as we're doing this, but it is like my go-to kind of summer drink, if you say. So, Justine, what are you doing?
Ooh, well, first of all, that sounds really good.
It's really good.
I'm definitely a go-to red wine person. So I've been drinking a lot of Noble Vines. There's 667 Pinot Noir. I'm a big fan of Pinot Noirs lately. And
it's good.
It is good, and I just like it because it's easy to find. It's like a good brand that you know you will find at most grocery stores. So like it's always at my Publix. It's occasionally on sale at Publix, and I just know it's going to be a good glass of like a nice bold red wine that I like. So that is my wine pick for this week. But what about you, Ellie?
One.
So you guys know that I like fruity things, but I do like more traditional wines, but lately I've been really into Hazlitt's Brambleberry. So it's like a mixture of like raspberry and blackberry, and it's super light bodied. So it's more of like a fruit wine, and it's made locally up in like the Finger Lakes area of New York. So it's got like Concord grapes and raspberry and blackberry, and it's so good. And you serve it cold, which like that's the one thing. I don't like wine unless it's cold, even if it's a Pinot Noir. So it's really weird. But in any case, I love this. And Actually, I read something on the internet the other day that said that you should pour it generously over ice cream. That it might, like, you might be able to make kind of like a root beer float out of it, which I'm definitely going to try when we're done with this because that sounds fantastic. So I know that I've already talked about, extinctions in different breeds of horses, but I found this new, and I don't know if you guys have heard about Baby Kurt, and it's a Przewalski horse, which is like the closest ancestor that we have today to the very first horses. So they're native from like Europe and Asia, and they have cloned a horse that was that's DNA was cryopreserved in 1980. So the original stallion was born in 1975 and lived in the UK until 1998. So they've recloned him, and he's super cute, and his name is Kurt. And people think that he's going to be, or the scientists rather, think that he's going to be super important to the genetic variation and bringing it back. So hopefully we can save these guys from being an endangered species.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
It is
I
cool.
think it's exciting, and they're super cute. They kind of are just like, they remind me a lot of fjords in like body type, but they're like dun colored.
Huh.
So what about you, Justine?
Okay, so have you guys heard about the Concrete Cowboys movie that's coming out?
I have heard of it. I have not watched the trailer.
So it's just quickly, it's based on some urban cowboys that are real people from actually your neck of the woods, kind of, Ellie, in Philly. They're in Philadelphia, and this movie has been in the works for a little while, but it just recently screened at the Toronto Film Festival, and one of the big stars from it is Idris Elba, if you know who he is, and then we also the Stranger Things actor Caleb McLaughlin is in it as well. So they were both they're in a lot of like media interviews right now because the movie is getting a lot of hype. It's about to come out. It's on the film festival circuit, and it's interesting. So Idris Elba was talking about how he actually has a horse allergy, but starred in this movie where he had to be around horses quite a bit. So he had to deal with his horse allergy while filming and how it affected his breathing. And it's kind of a cute interview. We'll definitely link to it in the show notes so you can, one, learn a little bit more about the film, but two, learn a little bit more about the actors' experiences being around horses. And so the film is based on a book, though. It's based on a novel called Ghetto Cowboy, which really explored the urban cowboys of Philly. And I'm really excited to see it.
That sounds really interesting. I
that
haven't
sounds
heard of
super
them
cool.
before.
What about you, Jess?
I have kind of an interesting one. It's pretty cool. So over in Europe, I think it's actually in England they're doing it. There has been this whole new signs alerting drivers to riders' presence on the roads. And we have a bit of that here in Aiken because a lot, we even have horse crossings and everything else. But I think a lot of kind of bigger cities or smaller towns or anything that aren't really equestrian involved or a lot of horses don't have them. And so basically they were super excited to announce that in Staffordshire County, basically they decided to do 8 different dead slow signs that are warning everybody to slow down in the Brewood Village. That basically, I guess it's right off the highways in England. And they were having a lot of people between construction traffic and everything else where people were going. And there were a lot of blind turns and everything. So basically the riders and the council got together to basically, between the authorities, to put up all these signs to really make everything slow so that the horses were protected and that, everybody was concerned with horses being, everyone knows if a car comes flying up on them, half of them could panic and it could be little bit of an incident. So they were all praised over there that basically the authorities came together and put up all these signs. So it was really good.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were just excited that everybody came together and collaborated and put this in. So good news over there that they're finally, kind of recognizing a lot more horses in towns that aren't as prevalent for the horses.
Yeah, I think it's super important because so many people don't know how to pass horses.
Exactly.
It's not like a motorcycle.
No,
it has
you can't just fly by it.
Yeah. So we just want to shout out to everybody who has supported us on Patreon. We really appreciate you guys continuing to support us and the show. We love doing it for you, and we love interacting with you guys on our Facebook group. So thanks for letting us continue to do this. If you would like to contribute, please go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/heelsdown. So Justine, tell me about your rain gear.
Yeah, I'm excited to tell you about my rain gear. So we reviewed Red & Goat's winter suit on the podcast before.
That's when you went to Iceland? Was that where you went?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I took this suit with me to Iceland to give it a try in a really cold place, since I don't live in a cold place. And I love my Red & Goat suit. Actually, every time I go skiing, my family and we try to go to Park City, Utah every year. I've brought it with me every time, and I love it. So I got to try out Red & Goat's latest product, which is a waterproof rain suit, essentially. And if you are already familiar with Red & Goat and you have their winter suit, it's very similar. It's just a lot lighter. It's specifically made for the rain, so you're not, you don't have such a big insulated suit to wear. It's breathable. It's waterproof. It has a ripstop shell, but it comes with all of these like perfect fixtures for riders. I really love that they have the zippers up the back of your legs, so it's easy to pull over, field boots if you're wearing them. Also, the hood that goes over your head is oversized, so your helmet or your helmet visor will fit, even if you want to pull the hood up over your helmet, which is great. It has lots of pockets, which is important to me. It even has like cute spur holders on the hips. It really has everything you can think of that you would need if you're in the barn. And so I got to play around with it the last week, which has been great because a tropical storm system came through around South Florida all the way through the Gulf, and has now unfortunately become a hurricane. But it brought a ton of rain to where I live here in Florida. So it was a great time to try this out. I will tell you, it's a little warm. I think that this is the type of rain suit that is perfect if you live in like the Pacific Northwest, if you're like from Vancouver or Seattle, where you might be in the warmer months, but you still know you're going to get a lot of rain. Or even Ellie, for you, maybe this is something you would wear in the spring where it's not quite so cold that you need like an insulation layer. I do think it's roomy enough that you can wear layers underneath, but it doesn't have the same warmth to it as the winter coat. For me, it just felt, Florida's so hot and muggy this time of year that it definitely kept me dry, which was great. But it is a little warm to be wearing like in September in Florida. Like it's going to be great next month. Like the weather would be perfect to wear it then. It does come with a ton of ventilation though. They have ventilation pockets in the armpits and then also some in the back. So you do feel some airflow when you're riding in it. And the other thing is I thought the fit was just slightly different than the winter coat. It was a little bit slimmer to me, which might be, it's a suit for women. So it fits you very like flattering. So I would just take that into consideration when you're looking at sizing. And if you want to check it out for yourself, Red & Goat has great photos, great sizing information, all about their rain gear, which you can find by going to their website, which is Red & Goat Equestrian. You spell Red & Goat REDINGOTE, equestrian.com.
Hey guys, this topic's come up a bunch between our listeners, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I do have clients and they talk to me a little bit about it, but to keep yourself, like, what do you do about riding alone? Like safety tips, and how do you stay focused, like without having the trainer? So talk to me a little about what your tips are, like how to track your progress, reach goals, and not get for me, I get a little sidetracked. Like I always kind of need that accountability person. So how do you guys kind of go about it?
Oh boy. Yeah. So I think accountability is huge. And that's something I've struggled with, going into, so now my third year of, riding by myself, just because, I think that so much too, when you grow up in the horse industry, is we have, you really create such a big community, and it's not just going to the barn to hang out with your horse. It's also going to hang out with your friends and ride together and stuff like that. So for me, I find it hard when, Matt's not home to ride with me. in terms of, having him available, but he's also horrible because we're both like, oh, let's eat pizza and watch a movie. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that instead. Horses will be happy outside, But so that is something I struggle with. And as much as I sometimes don't like them, I'm now in a lot of Facebook groups for people. I see what other people are doing, because sometimes it's kind of like going to a horse show when you're not going to ride. You're like, oh man, I want to ride. So I try to look through Facebook and I'm like, hey, all these people are doing cool things with their horses. I need to go ride, So that's kind of how I try to keep myself in line with that. And I try to talk to, friends from back home and other people that ride in the area. So even though they're not here, physically, I'm like, I'm going to go ride my horse today. What did you work on today? Just to try to create that community virtually, I guess, which during COVID times is helpful. In terms of
everyone's had to think outside the box for COVID.
Definitely.
Yeah. In terms of safety, so my biggest thing is I have horses that don't like boundaries. So I will not ride outside if Matt is not around, because I know that if I fall off, my horse is going to jump out of my outdoor arena, and it's a long walk from my outdoor arena back to the barn. I'm not worried about him going anywhere. There's lots of grass, but so that's something I always do. And I actually, as silly as it sounds, I still text my mom when I get on, and I text her when I get off.
That's so smart. We make if anybody's at the farm and we're not there, we 100% do it. Courtney's super anal about it. She does not want anybody to ride alone. So that's what I was actually going to recommend to the listeners, is making sure you text somebody, because every time someone gets on a horse, they're by themselves and someone's not there. And most of the time, very infrequent, but it does happen. So Courtney's like, look, I don't want to find out 6 hours later, that you've fallen off or whatever. She's like, I want to know and send somebody over to look at it. So she has them text her when she gets on and when they get off. So no, that's not dumb at all.
Yeah. I mean, for me, right, my mom's 500 miles away. So there's not much she herself can do, but I figure as long as somebody knows, she could contact people.
She can call somebody.
Yeah. And she actually bought me an Apple Watch, so it's got that fall.
Oh, that's good.
Alert system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't know they had those, but that was kind of interesting. So that's a big thing. And then I have cameras in my barn as well. So I have one in the indoor arena, so that if for some reason, Matt hadn't heard from me for an hour, he could look on it and see, oh, look, she's just laying there.
Probably should do something.
Probably should just go check something out. But what do you do for safety, Justine? Because I know that you ride a lot before work and stuff. And I don't know if that's a normal or a busy barn time.
Yeah, I'm bad where I honestly just never thought about it for a long time, because I rode on my own for so long. After college, when I was just, a recent grad and very poor, I just, I took every opportunity that I could to ride. And then I was able to pick up some horses, and just have always been a little scrappy about those kinds of things up until recently. But earlier this year, I think it was January, I jumped by myself. So I was jumping my horse by myself at the farm, in the middle of the day where everybody else was at work and not there. And I fell, and it freaked me out. And luckily I was fine. Everything was fine. I just hit the ground pretty hard. But it freaked me out and reminded me that I am now in my 30s, and I have to be more responsible now. So I do have an Apple Watch, which has the fall detection too, and it's set up to ping my husband and my mom if for some reason I am ejected from the saddle and fell hard enough that the watch would know. So, and I also just don't think it's that important to jump when I'm by myself anymore. So I just really don't do it that much. So as for training wise, just to stay on top of my game, like I said, I rode by myself and horse showed by myself for probably 6 years until recently, even where, I was seeing a trainer maybe once a month, maybe a couple times a month. And other than that, I was, I'd still go to the horse shows by myself. Or I would miss a month of lessons with her because I couldn't afford it. And I would just send her videos of my riding when I felt like I was hitting a mental block and couldn't get past something, or I would trail her out and see an instructor when I knew I was dealing with a problem with my young green horse that I needed help with. I needed a professional to figure it out. So I think video is just such a wonderful tool for that, for at least keeping you, for me, it helps to visualize and see what I'm doing wrong. And then it helps to send that to a professional so they can point out what I'm doing wrong. And then I can see it too in the video, right? So then I know. And that's been really helpful to me too. I feel really good about the time I spent showing and training alone, though. I feel like it's made me really independent, especially as an adult amateur. And now that I'm at a training barn with other adult amateurs who take lessons and want to show, like, I'm very comfortable having to school by myself. Or if my trainer has a conflict and has somebody else in another ring, like, I'm not losing my marbles because I have to sit and wait, or maybe I have to go and do a hunt around without them. And I think that's important. You got to have some confidence in your own ability, right? You can't just constantly rely on a trainer. So I really appreciate the time I spent doing that by myself. That gave me that confidence. Like, hey, I know I can do this. I wouldn't be at the horse show if I didn't think I could do it, right?
Yeah.
But safety is a really big part of it too. And the older I get, that's more and more important to me. So like, I can accomplish almost the same thing by schooling my horse over ground poles. You know, like if I'm trying to get the number and trying to catch, like trying to train my eye, I can do that with ground poles. I don't need to jump a 3-foot fence to get the feel for it, And I think that's made me a better horseman too, is realizing those things. Like, you don't have to jump every ride to get better at jumping. So
right. Yeah. I mean, and for me too, right? So I haven't seen, oh God, I don't even know if I want to admit this on the air. I haven't been to a trainer since college. So that's been really hard for me, which I've never thought. I record myself all the time, but I never thought about sending it to my trainer back home, Justine. So I'm going to do that.
Do it. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, hi, I know I haven't ridden with you in a very long time, but help me, please. My biggest thing is, so I've been breaking horses, right? And I'm sure, Justine, I don't know if you have any experience with that, but I'm sure Jess, it's a different kind of riding because it's stay on and be functional versus, equitation and,
Sure.
really finessing things. So I really am trying to get my Berkeley horse back into the show ring. Like, that is my new goal, so I'm trying to, one, get him back into shape because of my whole arena catastrophe and also like a full-time job. So that pain in the rear. But so my biggest thing is, I have to find somebody locally. So plug, if you know anybody in the northern PA area who can truck out for lessons, let me know. But I like the recording yourself and sending it to a trainer, because I'd never thought about that. And we've talked about that with Aless, and I don't know why that didn't cross my mind. But what about you, Jess? So do you have any clients that, are not really regular with you?
We have some that aren't regular or whatever, but the ones that are showing, they're pretty regular. But even the ones like that are showing, we kind of come up with a game plan because they're not all based with us. So we say, look, like, this is what you should do for the next couple of weeks, and just kind of give them like a broad overview kind of on things to work with so that they can kind of do kind of their homework type thing. And I think that best is if you kind of get the homework, then it keeps you motivated and it keeps you going, okay, I need to progress. So maybe the homework's kind of a couple different things that over a month, or maybe it's a weekly thing. So you can kind of do different things within that type of homework scale and say, look, why don't we try? And it can be very basic. It can be very, detailed. It can be all of the above. And so I feel like just depending on the person of what they need, that really seems to help the most. For ours is to say, okay, like, keep this, and then let's see you next time. Have already kind of like getting that way type thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's exactly what I need. Like, I'm a very goal-oriented person. So like, I was seeing this dressage trainer like maybe once every 3 months. And every time I left, she would go, by the next time I see you, I want you to be able to do your haunches in blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, she gave me these goals. So when I came back, like, I knew I had enough to work on, that I had something to show for it. Right.
Well, and obtainable goals. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought that was really important. And it helped keep me motivated. And then it made you feel good when you reached those goals, you know?
Exactly.
It always made me go, okay, what's next? What's next? You know?
100%.
One of my favorite products I use on my horse almost every ride are my Draper Therapies Perfect Polos. Perfect Polos are great for imperfect legs. Draper Therapies Perfect Polos combine the therapeutic benefits of Cilient with a great fitting Saratoga bandage. You can get a pair for yourself and feel the difference by going to drapertherapies.com. So guys, I wrote a story for Hillsdown Mag about a week ago that is talking about how show jumpers and just hunter jumper riders in general. I don't know if you've noticed this yourself going to horse shows or seeing riders at shows online, but so many more of them are starting to wear protective vests, like the same hard shell or air vests that you see in eventing. And so I spoke to Danielle Toronto, who is part of Jet Show Stables, and her husband is a Grand Prix show jumper, Jimmy Toronto. And she, along with several other people, including Diana Babington, the wife of Kevin Babington, have really been pushing for vests to be almost a mandatory protective gear for show jumpers every time you go in the ring. Jess, have you seen this? I mean, I know you guys are at Tryon a lot. You're at a bunch of horse show venues. Are you seeing more jumpers getting into the vest trend?
100%. So like we all know, with eventing, you have to have the hard vest, but you don't have to have the airbag vest, the air vest. So, but what we're seeing more in the jumper world is just the air vest. So because on cross country, like if you were to do a rotational or whatever, you have to have for that hard vest, but we actually don't ride without the air vest as well. Like it kind of is like, we don't use the combo one. We really like the AeroWear ones because they're hard enough and they've got all the beta testings, but they actually form to you quite well. And then our favorite, like top airbag vest is Hit Air because it actually expands outward. And a lot of people, you know, you're seeing a lot of the jumpers and stuff using the vest and they have all these different types. But for us, the Hit Air one is our favorite because I used to, before Hit Air even came over this country or whatever, it's been years and years in the motorcycle world, but it wasn't actually until kind of Point 2 Hit Air kind of came out at the same time. I actually started riding in an air vest back in 2009. We've talked about this on the podcast before where I had to ride in it in England and my dad made me ride in it and everything. But I didn't know much about it at the time. I just knew it was better to fall in an air vest than it was to fall without one because it doesn't hurt as bad. Like, you know, it's like when you're jumping in a bouncy castle, it's always better to land on air than the ground. So, but I started, and they're all better. But for me personally, just when it explodes and it was going inward, it kind of made me feel a little claustrophobic and it kind of was like not comfortable. And so Doug actually turned me on to the Hit Air. And actually now a client of ours is the distributor for it. And she's been for forever. I just didn't know it. But she's taught us a lot about the air vest and that when it explodes outwards, it's why you don't feel that kind of claustrophobic because it just kind of pops open. And so she actually, she rides in it all the time when she show jumps. She does like the 120s and everything, like the low junior AMs. And she has a beautiful brown coat. And so she wears a brown air vest on top. And
wow.
So it's really pretty. So you don't really notice it. And we've seen a lot of bigger riders wearing the ones that are incorporated into the jackets and everything. So we're seeing all of these different kind of companies come up, you know, so for the show jumpers because of, you know, Diane Babington's husband, Kevin, and a lot of people saying, look, it would help. And it does. And, you know, we've been talking to a lot of show jumpers who are like, I need to start wearing it all the time. Like, I need to do it. And I think you're going to see a lot more coming out in the next little bit. So much that another client, really good friend of ours, she's seen the need for it. She is actually just about to launch like a one-stop shop for all your safety needs. So it's safety stirrups, safety vest, everything. And she's doing like, so it'll be online and kind of like a trunk show start. Like you can go to the barn, she'll travel to your farm and everything. And so she's starting this whole company called Ride EquiSafe. And they'll have like the website's going live, I think this week and everything because she's seen the need. She's actually in partner with one of our big horses. She's ridden through the medium, 130s basically and show jumping. So she's done it all kind of. And she's like, look, I think you need it. And so she did like a beginner, novice. And she's like, I'm not going cross country without it. So I think everybody's starting to see the need for it. So I think 100%.
You're definitely seeing it on social media, like Catherine Tyree, all these Hope Glenn, who's a hunter rider, talking about it too. And I think it's a really interesting conversation because you can fall off and break your collarbone or fall off and hurt yourself. You don't have to be jumping. You don't have to be jumping these massive jumps like show jumpers do, like 1.30 meters. Like that sounds enormous to me. That's something I will never do. But I could fall off my horse doing a novice fence and get hurt too, right?
Just the same way. And that's why I think that's been a huge push. And you're seeing a lot more companies developing all this stuff and seeing the need for it. So it's just, we see it a little bit more in the eventing, but you're seeing it in every sport. And you're seeing it where these companies are making vests. So you don't even know they're, air vests, basically.
You don't even see them. Yeah.
No. And you're seeing everybody just wear the vest by themselves or over their show coats. And like, you're not going to notice for them, I think.
So I was talking to Alex Wells, who you guys know we've had her on the show several times. She's an amateur show jumper. Her husband is Andrew Wells. He's a professional Grand Prix show jumper. And she was telling me everyone in their program, they wear an air vest every time they're in the tack now, whether they're jumping a ground pole or whether they're doing Grand Prix level jumps. It's just part of their program. They're always in the air vests. And, it's funny. I was talking to her when I was interviewing Danielle for this story, going through like all of Andrew's photos on Instagram, and I could not tell he was wearing the air vest, but he was wearing it in every single photo.
You have to look for the cord. That's the only way you can tell.
Right. And the cord connects to the saddle, right? And that's when it knows how to deploy, is when you're leaving the saddle is when it deploys.
So it's like a retractable cord type thing, and they're all the same. All the different companies are the same basically, but they all have like retractable cord and then a CO like basically it just blows up as soon as you get enough force, like you're falling off basically. So it's safe if, because everybody always asks, like, is it safe if I get a little knocked loose or whatever? Like you can drop off, we drop off 6-foot drops off at Kentucky, 5 stars, and they don't deploy. They deploy only when you're like literally getting forced off the horse. So it's you're finding all these people noticing, oh, wait. So, I think I've gotten, I think I heard some rumors and stuff that Chris Kapler's barn, that if you're under 18, they're now requiring people to wear a vest. And you're just seeing all these kind of rumors and stuff happening. And I think it's a good thing because all these people are like, look, we could not have all these incidents if you were wearing it. So I think you're going to see a lot more push and a little bit more accessibility. So it doesn't look, like I said, my one client, she wears her brown jacket. You can barely notice. Like we have pictures of her and you're like having to look, and she has just the vest on top of her normal, whatever show coat. So it makes it affordable. You don't have to go buy new show coats. You can just buy the vest to go on top of it.
Well, and they're real light because they're
super light.
Yeah. Until they deploy. I think that's really interesting. And like Danielle told me too, from Jet Show Stables, when I talked to her about it, and Diana, that the more people are talking about this and the more that they're showing that they're wearing them, that maybe the USCF, maybe USHGA will see this as it's just the next helmet, right? It's just the next wave of protection for riders. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, Jess, so you've ridden in one. So is it different? Like, does it feel different than wearing one of like the hard shell cross country jackets?
Oh, it's
like,
way lighter. Way lighter.
Because I know some people ride with both. And
well, so for eventing, you can't not wear the hard one.
Right.
So you have to wear the hard one, and then people choose to wear the air vest because it's so much better. But there's no choice to wear the air vest, basically. Like, I mean, there's no choice to wear the hard vest. So for us, a lot of times, like they'll go, and we have clients that just when they want to jump, they don't wear the hard vest. They just we do when we go cross country, we would put both of them on, but just, they're going to jump around or whatever. I have a client that every day she rides in just a little air vest. And you put it over your clothing and it just fits over. It's kind of like, like a light vest type thing you'd wear. And in the middle of summer, the Hit Air one's like so breathable, you can like actually just stick it on and it's easy.
Mm.
Yeah. I would just hope that, I mean, the hard part is they're so expensive, and I just hope that if it gets picked up that, somebody can make it more accessible, because I feel like so much of the industry, right, can't afford something like that.
I think they're more reasonable than you think.
Are they? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I think if you're going to go the show jackets that we're all talking about that are, built in and everything, those are super expensive. But, you think about all the times you ride and all the times you jump, like I think I don't know exactly the price. I'd have to look it up, but you can Google them all, but they're just under a couple $100 basically.
Oh,
so
okay.
You're not thinking thousands of dollars. Those are your jackets and stuff. And that's why our friend Catherine that did the Ride EquiSafe company, she's like, look, I want it to be a one-stop shop. So you have all the different options. So you don't have to go searching. You can try all the different things on and say, look, this is affordable, or I want to spend the more money and be, in the bigger jacket and vest and everything. So no, I think it's a lot more affordable than you think.
Oh, good. That'll be great for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. So it's time for Rose and Thorn, but I have a small surprise for both of you. We are bringing on a listener to play Rose and Thorn with us this time. It's our first time ever doing this. And so we're bringing on Courtney Teed, who's from Nashville, who's a very active person in our Facebook group. So, hey, Courtney, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. How are you guys?
Good.
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us. But hey, before we play Rose and Thorn with you, I know we talked about our favorite wines on this episode. So it just seemed fitting to talk to you about wine, because I know there's a brand that you really like, right? So why don't you tell us about your wine preferences?
Yeah. So my favorite wine is Scout and Cellar, which is the only clean crafted wine available. And what that means is basically that our wine only has grapes in it. There's no additives or anything, no chemicals. Evidently, most wines, which I recently learned, have up to 16 grams of added sugar in them and over 250 added chemicals and other additives. So Scout and Cellar wine is just 100% grapes. So everyone that tells you I get a wine headache, I get the wine flu after just one glass kind of thing, that's not really something that happens with Scout and Cellar because it's just grapes. But yeah, so that's my favorite brand. My favorite current wine, I guess, from them isn't actually a wine at all. It is like a vodka type drink, but made out of grapes. So it's higher alcohol content than wine, and you mix it. It's called our mixable, and it's the only wine, quote unquote wine, mixable in the entire world. So this past weekend, it's called Wilderness Road. This past weekend, I went camping, and I was like, what better place to drink this than out camping in the wilderness? But I did some mint and lime mixed with ginger beer, and that was really delicious. There's like a grapefruit recipe that someone gave me, but I'm not a big fan of grapefruit. It wasn't terrible. And then my boyfriend, Justin, he drinks it, and he's completely fine drinking it just like straight over ice.
Oh, wow.
But it's hot. Yeah, it's super cool. And like I said, that one's my favorite right now. But we have reds, whites, rosés, all of it's awesome. No added sugar, so it's diet friendly, I guess, like keto diet friendly, paleo diet friendly, because there's like essentially no carbs in it. All low calorie and delicious.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of your boyfriend, so this is the first time I met you, Courtney, and we were in Kentucky for the horse show. And you had you had posted in the Facebook group about your socks, right? They're your lucky socks that Justin bought you.
Yeah.
And they have his face on them, right? And I remember you took your shoes
gosh.
off and showed them to us on the cross country course, and it's just your boyfriend's face all over your feet.
That's amazing.
It is. That's actually his like Facebook profile picture.
Is it? Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It is. It's one of his finest moments for sure. He thinks he's super cool now.
Gosh.
Well, now he's going to be sock famous. They're all going to order Justin face socks.
Oh God, he would die. He already wants to put it on a shirt. He's like, I should get you like a shirt or a bikini. Let's do a bathing suit. I'm like, no
Oh
bathing
my
suit,
gosh.
no shirt. I'm gonna show
All
it
right.
to a horse show with like a stock tie with his face on it.
That's too funny. All right. Well, let's play Rose and Thorn. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right. Go for it, Jess.
Okay, so I will start with my rose. It's nice. I finally have been back showing myself. So that would be my rose. I've been back horse showing, so that's fun. So that would
How
be my
does it
rose.
feel?
Getting back.
Feel good?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's fun. I've just been doing the jumpers and doing like the 110s and stuff, but that's fun. So just getting back at it and getting it. It's a little easier with the jumper shows, with the flexibility with the kids and stuff. So if like, one's losing its mind or something, it's not like a set ride time and then I'm screwed for the whole week or something. So we're kind of, it's a little easier just to do the jumpers right now, but that's been good and fun. So glad to be back at it. And then my thorn just because of one reason, but my parents' farm in Aiken has been for sale for like the last 2 years and it finally sold. It's under contract, which is great
Ooh.
news. That's actually not my thorn part of it. My thorn part is we have 30 days to move. So like packing up is going to be my thorn for the next 30 days. It's just getting everything organized. But thankfully for COVID and everything, we did lots of projects of cleaning up. So it shouldn't be too terrible, but just like everybody hates moving. So it's going to be great because then hopefully that makes us closer to moving into our new farm. So should be like, light at the end of the tunnel, but kind of a little thorn because we actually have to move now.
Wow. What about you, Ellie?
Well, I'll start with my thorn because it actually is very thorn-like. That sounded all right. Well, let me explain. So Matt tells me I have too many hobbies, which I was a little offended by, but in any case, I've started whittling.
What?
Yeah. So, it came into my mind because my grandfather used to do it a lot, and I have a lot of his carvings like around the house and stuff. And I was like, I want to give this a shot. So, 2 a.m. on Amazon, I was like, I'm gonna buy all my supplies and I'm gonna start whittling. And so I've been doing a lot of bears and stuff. Which
your pictures, you're quite good already, Ellie. They're really cute.
Thank you.
I know.
Yeah. It's
I'm
gonna be the
impressed.
only one I know how to do. But Matt, for his birthday, which was the 14th, he wanted an alien egg, like from the movie Alien with Sigourney Weaver, with a face hugger on the side of it. So I'm pretty happy with how it came out. But when I was working on it, I did something stupid and cut towards myself, and I took a really deep cut out of my arm, which probably needed stitches, but Matt and I are like, oh, we're just going to throw some super glue in that and we'll be fine. So he was more worried about it than I was. But so in any case, it stopped bleeding. I'm fine. But I'm really frustrated about it because it's right on the neck of one of my bears on my arm. So now it looks like my bear is decapitated, and I'm really going to hope that the scar is small and then I can keep it together, or else I'm going to have to Sharpie it in every day because it's going to drive me crazy. It's just really upsetting. So I'm not upset about my cut. I'm upset that
your bear's decapitated.
Your tattoo.
Yeah. And my mom and my sister,
I'd be upset.
Right? They were laughing about it. They're like, oh, battle wounds. I'm like, it's not a joke. That's not
for
funny.
real.
Come on. So that's my thorn because it was sharp like a thorn. That was my original joke that was pretty bad. And my rose is that I am finally getting my arena refixed again, and that my insurance might cover some of it, because I totally thought, I was like, hey, wait a minute, I have the barn insured. I should try to see if I can get some under homeowners insurance. So I'm working on that process right now, and they were just talking to the arena company. So I'm hoping that they will cover at least some of it. Because, money is money and it doesn't grow on trees. So that's my rose, that there's a possibility that I won't have to pay for all of it myself.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, just even some of it. I mean, I'd be happy with $50 at this point. Just
Yeah, right. Anything.
I'm okay with just begging the insurance company.
That should work. You should do that.
Yeah. I'll just cry a little bit. I'm sure that will work.
Stick with it. You got to keep fighting them if you want money from them.
Oh, I'll fight them. I've got the scars to prove that I'm a warrior.
Oh my gosh.
What about you, Justine?
Let's see. My rose, I guess, is that it's almost fall, which is horse show season, which is wonderful because I'm so tired of summer. So we just went to our first hunter show of the season and stepped up fully. Like, we were a 3-foot hunter now, and Mikey was amazing and really held his own, and I'm really proud of him, and I'm excited to keep horse showing now. Like, I've got the bug. Like, I'm ready to keep going,
I saw the videos. He looked awesome.
Oh, thank you. I'm very proud of him. He's a good boy. And then my thorn is that I have realized fully from the horse show that I am too flabby from quarantine and got to get serious about my own body. If I want a horse show seriously, like, if he's going to, have to love me around, I got to do something too. So I am dieting, and it is the worst. Just throwing it out there. I'm irritable and angry because I'm dieting. So
I'm with you there, Justine. I am with you.
So we'll see how I'm doing by the time we film next time, because I'll probably be worse.
Yeah, we can share struggles, because I had to get on a client's horse at a horse show the other day, and I hadn't worn my show jacket since college. And I had quite the muffin top showing out the bottom of my jacket. And I'm like, I'm not buying a new one, so belly's got to go.
Yep. It's exactly pretty much how I felt. I was like, all right, it's time. It's time to address this. So
I feel no one at horse shows is judging right now, though, because we've all done it. We've all had quarantine weight. Come on.
That's true. We're all a little rusty. We're all a little flabby, So, but what about you, Courtney? What's your rose and thorn?
Yeah, so my rose, I actually lost my job back in March due to COVID. And I've been quarantining. Well, it worked out fine, but my rose is I finally got a new job, so that's exciting. I went back to work about 3 weeks ago. So that's super fun that I'm back to work, and my new boss is amazing. My new job's super fun. So that's cool. But then my thorn is now that I've been off of work for months and I don't know how to adult anymore. It's kind of a struggle. Like, the balance between riding and, doing fun things and going to work is actually really hard. And I forgot. So I don't get to do as many fun things anymore. So I'm excited to be back to work, but I'm definitely upset about it too.
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel you there. That's the struggle, is like trying to do all the things, right?
For sure. I'm really lucky. I don't go into work until 10 and I get off at 6, and it's like 20 minutes from my house in the barn. So I have plenty of time to do stuff. I just have to encourage myself to get out of the bed in the morning.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, hey, Courtney, thank you so much for joining us. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was so fun. I feel so special to be the first listener on.
Aw. All right, so we got a mailbag from Jenny in our Facebook group, and she wants to know. She says her saddle flap has some scuffs on one side, and it's getting worse as she continues to ride. So she's wondering if we have any tips on how to fix this or stop it from getting worse. Do you guys have any good tricks or like good products that you like that help really buff out scuffs in your saddle, especially, if constant wear is really wearing out the leather?
I always just make sure I have like a really good conditioner. I don't really have like a favorite one, but make sure I have like a really good kind of like the balmy conditioner, like the one that's like not, it's like in a jar and they're like super thick type things. And several different companies make them, but just something thick like that. And I feel like that kind of just like slippery part and let it dry seems to really help ours if we get that way.
My biggest or you go, Ellie. No, you go.
I do. So there's this stuff called leather CPR. Like it's for like couches. Like we used to use it on my mom's leather couch all the time when the cat scratched it. So I use it and I do like my inside of my half chaps and stuff with it, because I think a lot of the times people forget that sand and stuff gets on your boots and your half chaps, and sometimes that causes scuffing. So I use that CPR stuff. I mean, I don't use it on my saddle because I use like the specific stuff made for my saddle, but like definitely doing my boots and stuff with it and just making sure that, you know, everything that touches each other is greased up, ready to go.
Oh, that's a good point.
So my biggest question for you, Jenny, about this is, why is it getting worse on one side and not the other? Like, I would be inspecting all of my stuff, like the zipper on my boot or my half chaps, my boots in general, even my stirrup leathers. Like, is there something like some sharp edge or something that's wrong that's causing that to happen? Because I feel like it shouldn't be wearing unevenly to the point that you're noticing one side more than the other, right? Does that make sense to you guys?
Well, is it the way that you're getting off? Like maybe it's your belt or something? Like, are you sliding down? Because I've gotten a few knacks on my saddle doing that. So
I have
too.
Know. So I would check all that out. I would check all your stuff and see why, why is it that one area of your saddle that seems to be wearing more quickly than others. But yeah, there's tons of good products. I love the thicker balmy type conditioners like you mentioned, Jess, but even sometimes something like this where you want to like buff out something. I had a zipper on my pair of boots that broke, and I had to ride in it at a horse show before I could get it fixed. And I like put a bunch of layers of black duct tape on like the actual zipper part that was still there to try to buffer it, because I knew it was going to scratch my saddle. And it still did, but the tape helped a little bit. But then it was oil. I like really had to oil out the scratches, and that took several cleanings and several times to really kind of soften and fix the leather and get that out. But yeah, figure out what's causing that, because it's not going to go away until you find that, I think.
Yeah, and if you can't find it out and your saddle is, relatively new, don't be afraid to contact the maker, let them know and send them pictures, because sometimes they have better advice for those kind of things. So
yeah, we spend too much money on our tack. Definitely call them,
Yeah.
So if you have a question for us and you want us to talk about it on the air, you can send us an email by going to hello@heelsdownmedia.com, or you can join our Facebook group, which is how we know Courtney so well. And that's the Heels Down Happy Hour Podcast Lounge. And if you want to hear more from us, you should subscribe to the Heels Down Brief, our daily email newsletter. You can do that by going to bit.ly/hdbrief. And we want to say thank you to all of our partners this week: Eagle Gold, Redding Goat, and Draper Therapies. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Cheers.
Cheers.
Sure.